All right, thank you. Thank you. You can lower your hands now. So if you can see my screen now, you can again give me a raised hand. If you can see my shared screen. All right, all right. So in today's session on RDBMS, we'll be discussing two topics in PLSQL. First would be packages, second would be triggers. Okay, I'll begin with packages. So we call these as packages or stored packages because they are stored in our account, in our Oracle account. So a package is a database object that groups logically related PLSQL objects. So we have already learned about PLSQL objects. Functions are there, procedures are there, cursors are there. So these are all PLSQL objects. So a package, gives you the flexibility to put them together. You could relate them together logically. Okay, so you can encapsulate related procedures, functions, associated cursors, and variables together as a logical unit in the database, and that is known as a package. Two things make up a package. The first is the specification and the second is the body. The specification is the interface to applications and has declarative statements. So while you are creating a package, you'll be dealing with two things. Number one is a package specification, number two is a package body. Package specification has declarative statements, and the body of the package would contain the implementation of the various procedures and functions that you have declared in the package specification. Okay, so packages are a group of procedures, functions, variables, and SQL statements grouped together into a single unit. Now this makes a considerable performance improvement because of this encapsulation. The entire package is loaded into the memory when a procedure within the package is called for the first time. Okay, so the important thing is that your package might have so many PLSQL objects, but the entire package is loaded into the memory as soon as the first procedure is loaded into the memory. So this would reduce the unnecessary disk input output time and would also save the network traffic. Now let's discuss about the package specification. As I told you that the package is comprised of two things. One is the package specification, which consists of declarative statements, and one is the package body, which contains the various implementation details of the subprograms, that is procedures and functions. Now this package specification is the interface to the applications. It declares the types, it declares the variables, the constants, exceptions, cursors, and subprograms. The specification holds public declarations which are visible to the application. Okay. Very soon I'll be taking up an example with you so that the things are clear. And at the end of today's lecture, I'll be sharing a tutorial sheet with you so that you can practice these things. Okay. So this is like the package specification is there. Then the package body is there. The body fully defines cursors and subprograms and so implements the specification. So we say that the package body is there to implement whatever you have declared in your package specification. The body holds implementation details and private declarations. So you can declare some private variables also there which are hidden from the application. So the private declaration would be a part of the package body only. They won't be visible to other applications. Now the scope of these declaration is local to the package body. So if you declare any private variables here, the scope of the declaration would be only local to this package body. Okay. So this is the package interface, how the package accesses data from the database, the specification as well as the body, and how the interaction is done. Now let's discuss about a few advantages of packages. So there are many advantages. Some of them are listed out here: modularity, easier application design, information hiding, added functionality, and better performance. Let's discuss them one by one. Modularity is like you have the different modules clubbed together. Okay, so that each module is visible within the package body. Okay, but you see it as a single unit, right? Then now easier application design, the second point, you see it is not important to compile the package body completely until the application is complete. So while you are designing something, you can just make the specification first, okay, and a specification can be coded and compiled without its body. So the important point is that the package specification and package body are coded and they are compiled separately. Okay, so it makes the application design easier. Then information hiding is there. Using packages, it can be specified which all types, objects and subprograms are public and which are private, that is hidden and inaccessible. Then added functionality is there. Package, public variables and cursors persist for the duration of a session. So while you are in an Oracle session, the public variables within the package and the cursors, they are active throughout the duration of the session. So they can be shared by all the procedures that execute in your environment. Okay, this is a good one, that they are active all through the session. Then the last one we already discussed, that the entire package is loaded into the memory when a procedure within the package is called for the first time. This reduces the unnecessary disk IO and network traffic. So whenever a procedure within the package is loaded into the memory, the entire package is available. Okay, so this is regarding the benefits of using a package. Okay, now let's see the syntax. Okay, first the syntax for the package specification. Okay, I hope you can see it on screen. So it is like this. I just putting the cursor there. Create or replace package, then a package name, then as. Okay, and then the declaration of global variables and cursors, procedures and functions. So you can put the declarations out here. Then you can use the end followed by an optional package name. It would be desired that if you give a package name here, but even if you just write end, that's fine. But desirable is that you end and you mention the package name here that you mentioned here. Okay, this is the package specification. In this, you will be declaring the cursors, the global variables, whatever you declare here would be available in each of the implementations that you do in the package body. And whatever procedures and functions you are going to elaborate in the package body, they can be declared here in the package specification. Okay, and then the package body would contain some private type and object declarations and the subprogram bodies and the implementations of the various procedures and functions that you have declared in the package specification. Okay, fine. So I'm coming to you now. If there are any problems, anything that you have not understood to begin with, okay, we'll see all this with the help of a few examples that I'll be carrying out in the PLSQL command line. But if you have anything to ask here, you can give me a raised hand. I'll just wait for a few seconds so that you can respond. This is very important because this is whatever we are studying here can be implemented, can be used for our database design, for the integrity of the database. Okay, and we can design some very good packages so that we can do some good functionality on our database. So, okay, none of you is raising hands. So let me ask Shivam. Yes, Shivam, you can unmute yourself. Shivam Gupta.
Yes, sir.
Shivam, how are you?
Yes. Fine, sir.
Have you understood what a package is, Shivam?
Yes, sir.
Have you understood what a package is? Yes,
Sir,
Shivam,
package
reply.
about the body package or something.
Yeah, I'm asking you, have you understood what a package is?
Yes, sir. Package is a PL, SQL or SQL database.
No, it's not a database. Okay, let's ask Aditya Kumar. Yes, Aditya, roll number 99. Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Aditya, what is a package in PLSQL? If you don't understand what it is, then it's not relevant to proceed with the examples. Okay, let's ask Aditya Ranjan. Yes, Aditya.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, Aditya. Kindly explain what a package is.
Sir. I don't know.
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Then you should have told me something. My speaking just for the sake of conducting a class is not good for all of you. You need to interact with me. If you don't
Okay.
understand what a package is, how would you create it? Okay, let's ask Bharat.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Bharat, what is a package?
Package is an object that contains specification and body,
Okay.
and the specification contains
And what a
declaration.
package is? Yeah, that's fine. It is having two things, specification and body, right? But what it is? Okay, let us ask
Database
Abhijit.
object.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Abhijit.
Sir, package is an Oracle object which holds other objects, sir.
That's a good
Within it.
one. That you can logically combine together. You can combine logically related PLSQL objects into a single unit. Okay, and that unit is known as a package. So you can combine your
Or
cursors,
it has two.
your procedures, your functions into a single unit, similar to a structure, I would say. Similar to a structure. Remember this thing, functioning. Okay, or a class maybe, right? Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
So we were just looking at this the syntax for the package. So create or replace package, package name as, then your declarations of global variables and cursors, if any. Okay, so if you need to, okay, and then your procedures and functions. Then you can end it with the end, and then followed by a package name. That is optional, of course. The or replace option is also optional. And then this specification is coded and is compiled separately. Okay, and then create or replace package body, the same package name that you wrote here, only the thing is the word package, instead of package, package body comes here. Okay, and then the private type and object declarations, and then the implementations of the procedures and functions. Then there is an example. This is a big example. Okay, so when I share this PDF with you, you can look into it. But right now, just have a look at it. Create or replace package MPLPack. So this is a name, MPLPack. Okay, and it contains, this package specification contains two things. One is a procedure with the name as mproc, and then the argument is there. That's it. And then a function with the name as increment. The arguments are there. This example we have already done in our previous class, that we can create a function which takes employee ID and some amount and increases the salary of the employee by this amount. Okay, and then there is an end and MPLAG, that is the name of this package. Okay, now again you can then create the body for this. In this body, you first write whatever you do, for creating the procedure. Only the create or replace procedure is not there. Okay, so it starts like procedure this is, and then you go with the coding of this, and then you end it like here. Okay, similarly for, then you have for the function increment like this. So we have done this, if you remember this coding, we have already done this in our previous class. So once you create a procedure and a function, you can add them to a package. Then, and in the end, you end the function, and with the function name, and end with the package name. And then once this package is created, you can access it. Okay, so just to show it, just to further the discussion here, I'll open a PL/SQL session. Okay, but this much theory was required to discuss this. So I'm connected to Oracle. Okay, and then I can do a bit of initial things that we do to set up the environment, and then I can do here set server output on. Okay, and then maybe I can clear the screen. Okay, now I'll create, you can write, all of you, I'll be creating a very small example, very small package, so that you understand the basics, right? I'll be creating a package which consists of a procedure which simply displays a message welcome. Okay, and I'll be creating a function which returns the cube of a number. Okay, which returns the cube of the number. So let's see first the specification. So maybe somebody can help me. I've told you what needs to be done. Yeah, I'm waiting for your response. I can just open it, this PDF once again, so that you can see the syntax here. Yeah, this is the syntax here. Okay, this is the syntax. Okay, now asking you that I need to create a package which consists of two things only. One procedure which displays a message welcome, and one function which returns the cube of a number. So very simple example. Let's see if somebody can assist me in answering this. So I'm waiting for your answer. Maybe somebody can take an initiative and no one is willing. Is it that difficult? You've written some amazing sessionals, all of you, and now you're not able to respond. Okay, fine. All right. So it's very simple. It is create or replace package. Say we can give it a name as test. Okay, as. So this is the initial line. You can just correlate it with this thing. It is create or replace package, package name as. I've written this line here. And then I just need to write the procedure and function that I'll be making here. So what I can do here is I can write procedure. Let me take the name of the procedure as disp. Okay, I think that's good enough. Put a semicolon here. Okay, see the here. Whenever you write something, you end it with a semicolon. Procedure disp. Okay, the procedure does not take any arguments. Okay, then a function cube. So in function, you know what you need to write mandatorily, right? Name of the function, then the argument. So I can take an argument x of number type, right? And then you must write the return type, return number, right? And then you put a semicolon. Is that fine? Okay. And then you can write here end test. See how simple it is? Create or replace package test. The name of the package is test. And I'm saying that I'll be using a procedure and a function within this package. Procedure doesn't take any arguments. It would, whenever invoked, it would simply display a message welcome. And function is the name of the function is cube, and it would return a number. Its return type is number, and it takes one argument x, and it should return the cube of x. Okay, so if you have understood this package specification, you can give me a raised hand, all of you, so that I can understand that you are with me. Otherwise, I can just share the PDF and you can read and cram, and you know, when you write your online exam, you can just copy. I don't care. My idea is to transfer the information and the usage that is maximum to you. Okay, fine. You've understood. Thank you. Lower your hands now. Now the second part, that is the create or replace package body, right? Okay. So let's see how it is done. For that, let me open the editor. Say I can give some name here, AQ. Okay. So what I need to do here is create or replace package body test as. Okay, see, just combine here, create or replace package body, package name as, and then you just expand those things. Okay, so let's just have a, okay, so then we must describe the procedure, and so simple procedure disp, the word is, then begin. I can just display a message. See how simple it is, and then you can write complex examples also. Okay, I can just write here, but see the syntax how it should be written. That's important. Okay, and then I can have a end. Now there could be many ends in here. If there are 5 procedures and 2 functions, so we will have 7 ends in it, right? So you must write that this end is for what. So this end is for your procedure. So you write here end disp. Procedure is done, right? Now let's focus on the function. Oh, sorry. Then I write function cube x number return number is, okay, and then you know what to write here. Begin, then end cube, okay, and within this you need to write the print state, or you can write the return statement here. Return x double star 3, x raised to power 3. It will return the cube of x. So you have defined the this procedure also, the function also. Then in one end for your package body, that is test. Okay. Have a good look at it. What we have done, I'll just separate out the things for you. This is the initial line. This is your procedure. This is your function, and this is the end for your test. I hope you can see the screen properly, right? So let's just compile this. It is an AQ, right? It's an AQ, so let's get it. Okay, so see, I compiled the package specification here. You can see it was compiled. It said package created. So the specification was created here. Now the body of this specification is created here. Let's see if we have made any mistake here. So package body created. If you make some errors, which you are bound to make initially, then the message would be package created with errors or package body created with errors. So if you remove those errors, then you can use the package. So now it is simple. Your package name is test. So within that you have a procedure disp. So to call that, you can just write here execute test.disp. Okay, that's it. You can see the welcome message is there. It has executed the disp procedure from within the test package. Okay. Now to call the function, you need to write a PLSQL anonymous block, because function cannot be invoked on the command line. Okay. The procedure can be invoked on the command line with the execute keyword. Okay. So let me just pick up, say, I'll just write here a short one, begin, then maybe a print, no. I can just print here RDBMS underscore output dot put underscore line, right? And I can write here, just see the simple example that I'm taking, cube of 5 is, and then I can combine it and I can call here test dot cube, pass 5 to it. Okay. And then I can end. This I've written in R21. Okay. So let's just save it. Let's get it for you all on one screen. I'll just scroll it so that you can see what we are doing. When I run it, you can see cube of 5 is 125. So similarly, instead of these small procedures and functions that I've written, you can write procedure and function that we have discussed in the previous class, and you can work with it. That is how you can work with the package. Okay. Any questions on this? I'm just scrolling the screen for you. Okay. So I started with create or replace package, then the package name as I mentioned that this is a package specification for the package test. I'll be having 2 things in it, 2 PLSQL objects, 1 procedure with the name as disp, and 1 function, then the name, then the arguments, and then the return type of the function. And then I end the specification here. I compile the specification, it says package created. Then I must make the body for this package. So create or replace package body test as, then I describe both these things, procedure as well as function, which I've done here. Okay. So I think once that is done, then you can execute whatever you need to do, whatever object you need to work from within the package. It must be preceded by the package name, that is test here. Okay. So test.disp would execute this disp, which prints the message welcome. And when you write like this, cube of 5 is, so you call test.cube 5. This 5 goes here and it returns the cube of 5. Okay. So any questions on this, please? I'm waiting now. Okay, let's now discuss trigger. Okay, very simple yet very effective way of maintaining, controlling, auditing your database. So a database trigger is a stored PL/SQL program unit associated with a specific database table. So trigger is something which is associated with your table. And unlike the stored procedures or functions, unlike the stored procedures or functions which have to be explicitly invoked, these triggers implicitly gets fired, that means executed, whenever the table is affected by any SQL operation. So just see the difference between your sub-programs, that is procedures and functions, and triggers. So a procedure or a function needs to be called or needs to be invoked, whereas a trigger is executed, or the technical word is fired, whenever any DML operation takes place in your on your table. Okay. So Oracle allows to define procedures that are implicitly executed when an insert, update, or delete statement is issued against the associated tables. That means that procedure can be taken up as implicitly executed procedure. Okay, whereas a procedure needs to be called, needs to be invoked, a trigger is a procedure, is a type of procedure which automatically gets executed whenever an insert, update, or delete statement is issued against the table. Okay, and therefore these procedures are known as database triggers. So a trigger can include SQL and PL/SQL statements. Okay, and then you can see the procedures and triggers, how they differ. It's written here. Okay, so to create a trigger you must have the create trigger privilege. Like if you're going to create a trigger on somebody else's table, then you need a create trigger privilege. Okay, or you should own the table. If you have your own table, you can create any number of triggers on it. Okay, so what can this trigger do? What is the utilization of these triggers? You can audit data modifications, you can log events transparently, you can enforce complex business rules. That means whenever you or somebody else is using the tables, uh, some conditions can be set which nobody can bypass. Whenever you are inserting, deleting, or updating something from a table, it that must follow the business rules or the conditions that you have enforced in the with the help of the triggers. Okay, so these are some of the utilizations of a trigger. Now it's a long topic, so let's get started with it. See, a trigger has three parts. So whenever you are writing a trigger, it has three parts. Number one is a triggering event. Number two is a trigger constraint, which is optional. And third one is a trigger action. So out of these three, trigger constraint is optional. You must write the triggering event and the trigger action. Okay. So whenever the event occurs, the database trigger fires, and whatever logic, whatever constraints, whatever business rules you've mentioned, they are performed. Okay. And database triggers, they fire with the privileges of the owner, not the current user. So to make a trigger and to use it, you must be the owner of the table on which the trigger is going to fire. Okay. So what is a trigger restriction? Okay. See, there is something known as a trigger restriction. That is, a condition which must be true for the trigger to fire. Okay, and if the trigger restriction is false, then the trigger action is not executed. Okay, for the theoretical aspect, you can just read it as many number of times, but then you can design a trigger very easily. Okay, this might look very elaborate and very descriptive while you're reading it, but you can create a trigger very easily. Okay, so if you need to put a trigger restriction, then there is a when clause. Okay, we'll see how we can use it. Then the trigger action is the code part that you need to perform on your table. Okay, so that is the PL/SQL part. Okay, now let's see the syntax. Yeah, this much is the syntax. Can you see? So it has been categorized into three categories. Okay, triggering event is this. This is the triggering event. Can you see? This is the triggering event. Then you have the trigger restriction. Okay, and then you have the trigger action. Trigger action is your begin end. That is a PLSQL block, that whatever action that you want to happen when the trigger is fired. Okay, I hope all of you are listening very intently to me. Any problems till this point? Because I need to discuss the syntax with you. Otherwise, you won't be able to create triggers and use the triggers. Okay, may look very long, but very simple to understand. We'll discuss all the three parts one by one, and then we'll create a few triggers, and then I'll share a tutorial sheet with you in which I would be asking to create some good triggers. Okay. Then the syntax you can see: create or replace trigger, trigger name. That opening line is very easy for all the PLSQL objects, right? Create or replace trigger, trigger name. Similar to create or replace package, package name. You've seen that. Then the triggering event part comes. That is when the trigger needs to be fired: before, after, or instead of. So that way you've got three types of triggers. We have got before triggers, we have got after triggers, we have got instead of triggers. Now these instead of triggers, they are used on views. Instead of triggers are used on views. Okay, so before, after, instead of. Then the action, which DML operation, whether delete or insert or update. You can have all the three in a statement. You can have one in a statement. You can have two in a statement. All three can be there, separated by this or statement. And then which column you want to take action on, and then on which table. So before, after, instead of, delete or insert or update of column, or you can have multiple columns also, and then on table name. Okay, then there is some triggering restriction also. Okay, there are some reference variables. By default, the reference variables are named old and new. What they are, I'll discuss with you soon. Okay, and then for each row, if you need to put some condition, then when condition. So kindly look at this line for each row. Okay, so we have got two types of triggers. Basically, two types of triggers: row triggers and statement triggers. So row triggers, they affect each and every row that is encountered by the DML statement. Whereas the statement triggers, they are just fired once. The row triggers are fired, say if a triggering statement is affecting 20 rows in a table, then the row triggers are fired 20 times. Okay, whereas a statement trigger is fired only once. As many, there might be any number of rows, the statement trigger is fired only once. We'll see this distinction soon. And then the code that you need to execute, that is the triggering action. Okay, so once again I'll come back to you because you must understand this. It's on screen. If you need to discuss anything, you can interact with me. Create or replace trigger, trigger name is the starting line. Then we can have before triggers, after triggers, instead of triggers. Okay, then the DML operations which would fire the trigger could be delete or insert or update. Then you can mention which columns it is going to affect, which table it is going to affect, and then you can have some reference variables which I'll discuss soon. And then two types of triggers are there. If you write within your trigger for each row, that means it's a row trigger. Most of the row triggers are for data related activities. Okay, whereas for maintaining some system integrity checks, you use the statement triggers. You don't look too much into this because we'll be discussing the row triggers only. We won't be discussing much of the statement triggers. Okay, now next is, okay, Ankit Prakash, you want to ask something? Yes, go ahead, please ask.
Good evening, sir. Sir,
Yes, good evening.
in the first paragraph, it was mentioned that it works on true and false only.
Yeah.
So then how that, where, in which statement that it evaluates among the true and false?
When you put some condition, see, I told you this statement, triggering restriction. Okay, this part, when condition. Okay, so if you mention some condition, I'll show it to you. Don't worry, I'll show it to you in an example. Within the next 10-15 minutes, whatever syntax is there, I'll show it to you. If we are not able to finish all the discussion today, we can again start it in the next class. Right? Got it? Here is your condition, true or false. So when you write here when condition, then it would execute if the condition is true, otherwise it won't execute. Is it fine? Ankit, is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, once we start working with the examples, it would be more clear, Ankit, right?
Okay.
All right. So let's see now the various types of triggers. Okay, some theoretical aspect is there, but we need to see like what are before triggers, what are after triggers. Okay, see what is before trigger. Oracle fires a trigger only once before executing the triggering statement. Okay, so before execution of the triggering statement, this trigger is fired. So after would be after executing the triggering statement. And instead of triggers, they are used on views. This I'll take with a separate example. Instead of triggers are not used for tables, they are used when we are dealing with views. Okay. So don't look too much into this also, right? Then referencing I'll explain on my own. You can just read this later on once you've understood. Okay. And when here specifies the trigger restriction, this condition has to be satisfied to fire the trigger. Okay. And this condition is there when you're using the row trigger. That means let's go back here. Yeah, here. So when you're writing for each row, only then this when condition can be there. Again, it's optional, but it is written only when you are dealing with row triggers. That when you're writing for each row. Okay. Then we have the statement level triggers. See the distinction now. They execute only once for each transaction. For example, if your single transaction inserted 100 rows into the M table, then a statement level trigger would fire only once. Okay. That's why statement level triggers are not used for data related activities. They are normally used to enforce additional security measures on the types of transactions that may be performed on a table. The statement level triggers would be more clear when we discuss the topic of transaction management. That is our next topic once we finish this and once we finish normalization. Okay. So total 14 possible trigger types are there. You can see, no need to memorize them, but just have a look here. Okay. Before insert row, before insert. So row trigger and statement trigger. These are the 14 types. I'll share this PDF with you. You can have a good look at it. Okay. So let's now go back. I'll just minimize this. Okay. Now you can pick up your copy pens if you wish. Let's create a trigger now. Okay. I'll open up a fresh file for you. Okay. I'm going to create a trigger. Look very carefully, okay, so that you can help me to write it. A trigger which keeps the ename column in M table. Let me write it, which keeps the values in the ename column in M table always in uppercase, right? Now, can you suggest me how to start writing? I need somebody to discuss with me. Only then we can have a good discussion. And those of you who have just started the meeting just for the sake of it can leave also, because this is totally technical part now. So if you're interested in learning how to create triggers, stay. Otherwise, you can leave, right? But do interact with me. Let's see who wants to interact. I won't be asking much, just so that we can have a two-way this thing. Otherwise, I'll just write and you won't get it easily. Have you understood? Okay, let me ask. Let's see who all is there. Yeah, yes, Sakshi Yadav, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Sakshi, tell me what are we trying to do here? And
Sir,
how? Okay, go ahead.
we are making a trigger which will keep the value in the ename column in
Yes,
empty, always in uppercase.
uppercase. That means what DML statement can you perceive here? If I delete something, that is gone. Okay. If I insert a new row, okay, in the
Yes.
table, I'll be putting the ename. So whether while inserting, whether I mention the ename as uppercase or lowercase or mixed case, it would automatically convert it into uppercase. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Understood? Similar, if I update something, if I update a name, okay, whatever I give as an updated name, it should convert it to an uppercase automatically.
Yes.
Understood now? Okay. So can we start writing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead. Shall I show you the syntax?
Sir, create or replace trigger.
Okay, fine, fine. Very good. So create or replace trigger. Say we keep the name as upper under, just I'm giving just a name here, upper underscore trig. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
What else to write?
Sir, then
See the syntax here and suggest. Okay, see the syntax here. I'll just take two examples, small ones, so that we can understand. See now. Tell me what to write. Whether I should see, I've got only two options from which I can pick, before or after. Because instead of I told you is not used on tables, it is used on views. So which one do you think? When should the trigger fire? Before entering the values into the table or after entering the values? Okay, okay. I think we have lost Sakshi. Sakshi, come again.
yes, sir.
Sakshi, what to write here now? Two options are available with us. Either we can write before or after. So you want this trigger to fire after the values have been or before the values should be going into the table.
Sir, before.
Okay, fine. I'll go with you before.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what next should I write?
Sir, update.
Very good. So before update or insert. Look on the syntax. Before I picked up insert or update, then of column name on table. So what should I write here? Of ename
And
on M. Fine.
Yes.
And then it should affect each row. It's a data related this thing. So I write here for each row. Fine. Okay.
Yes.
And then the PLSQL part. I'll discuss this referencing in the next example. The PLSQL part. So I write here begin. What action do I need to take? Okay. So see, the already existing values in your table, they are referred with the word old, with the bind variable old. And the new values which can go into your table either with the update or the insert option, they are referred to with the variable new. So that's why we see the syntax here. When we see the syntax here, all of you have a good look here, referencing old as old. So old is the name of your variable for the which refers to the old values in the table, and new refers to the new values in the table. So you can use these values as old and new also, or you can give your own name to these bind variables also. Okay. So I'm first going with old. Okay. So this is new dot ename. What does it mean? And these variables they begin with the colon. Okay, that they are known as bind variables. Okay, so I've written new dot ename. That means I want the new value of ename, then the assignment colon equal to be converted. This SQL function you've already learned. Just see what it means. See, a small thing can keep the integrity, whatever you want to do with your table, so easily. See now. So what this line means, Sakshi? It means that the new value of the ename, okay, would be converted into an uppercase value before it goes into the table. Before I update or insert something into the table, this would happen. So in the first instance, okay, in the first instance, I'm muting you, Sakshi. In the first instance, have all of you understood what we are trying to do? The syntax is simple. See, the syntax from here is very simple. I think all of you agree with me. One line, second line, third line, this. The syntax is very simple. The only thing, the main thing that you need to decide is this code. And this usually is 1 or 2 lines code. So if all of you have understood what we are trying to do, you can give me a raised hand, all of you. Don't worry, we are not going to finish triggers today. Okay. If you have understood what we are trying to do, we'll see whether it takes place or not. I'll take 3 or 4 good examples before I finish today's class. Okay, fine. So let's now, the file name is T111. So we must have a message trigger created. Okay, let's get the trigger. All of you have a good look whether there is some mistake or not, whether we have fulfilled each and everything. Match it with this syntax. Okay. This is fine. I've not written referencing old as old. If I'm not written it, that means I want to use the bind variables with the name of new and old. New refers to the new values which come in the table, and old refers to the old values which are existing in the table. Okay, so let's create this trigger. So good, a message is trigger created. Fine. Now I want somebody to interact with me. Okay, I'll pick up myself. Yes, Abhijit, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Abhijit, how to test this trigger?
Sir, again repeat, sir. Voice नहीं आ रही थी, sir, मेरे पास.
I'm not audible.
Hello, sir.
Am I audible?
Hello, sir. Sir, थोड़ा voice कट रहा है.
Okay, okay. I'll
Voice
ask
कट
somebody.
रहा है, sir. क्या?
Okay, okay. Fine. So let's pick up Rupali. Yes, Rupali, unmute yourself. Rupali, are you there?
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Rupali. Good evening. Rupali, can you tell me how to test this trigger? If you like, how can we check whether whatever you have done will happen? That means whenever, oh, you can read it on screen and answer my question, please. How I can test this trigger, whether it works or not? It is simple. You can raise your hands to answer this question while Rupali is trying to answer. Yes, Rupali, you can unmute yourself.
Sir, insert it to M table.
Okay, insert. I'll go with an update. Okay, insert se bhi ho jayega. I'll go with an update. Okay. So first, let me just list something for you. Okay, I'm listing all the rows, department wise. Okay. So let's check. Let's make this update the name of all the people to say Kapil. Okay, of department number 10. I want to update the name just for the sake of checking it. Okay, it's not a very good example, but that would make things clear for the next example that I'm going to take. Okay, so let's do it for one row first. Say update. Rupali, are you there with me? Why you mute yourself? Rupali. Yes, Rupali, unmute yourself and don't mute yourself before I ask you, right? Okay. Update M set ename equal to, see now what I'm doing, Kapil, where emp number is equal to 7934. Rupali, what this would do to my data? Have a look on the screen, what it would change. Yes, Rupali. See, you're simply saying update this M table and set the ename to Kapil for employee number 7934. So what would change?
Yes, sir.
7934 is Miller. So Miller, instead of Miller, we'll have the name as Kapil. But since we have created a trigger with this, so it would just check the condition. So it would convert this Kapil into an uppercase automatically. See now, see this thing. Okay, one row updated. I'm listing again, see. Can all of you see? I updated with this statement. See now. I mentioned an updated value as Kapil in lowercase, but the trigger has taken its effect and it has made it in uppercase. Can all of you see? Rupali, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. You can mute yourself now. Okay, can somebody else come with the next problem that I'm going to? Okay, Salil Chandan, unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Salil, I want to do one thing with this. See now, I want to update the names of all the people from department number 10, but whose salary is more than 2500.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay? So if I fire, I would change the name to say to Ajay. Okay, I would change the name to Ajay for all the people of department number 10, but whose existing salary is more than 2500. How many rows would be affected?
Existing salary is more than
2500.
sir, one row.
The first one, right?
Yes, sir.
And what about the rest?
Sir, the salary is not greater than 2500 of department number 10. So that's why the first row is affected.
Okay, let's see that now. Okay, stay with me. Let's see that. This was the condition. Where to make the change? Can you tell me? So I want to make this only for, give me an if condition if you can, or somebody can raise hands to give me a if condition. You
If
can
sa-
try. Yeah.
If sal is greater
No, no, no,
than
no. Sal, we cannot refer in a trigger, we cannot refer with column names. I told you the old value of the sal. Okay. So
old
I should write like this: colon old dot sal is greater than
2500.
2500. Then I should do like this, right? And then I must write end if.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? Let's see
Yes.
now how it takes place. Okay, let's see it very clearly. And then let's take this T11 as this. And then let's create this. So again, the trigger is created. Okay, let me write the update now. Okay, so update m set ename is equal to
Ajay.
Ajay, right? Okay, I'll set it to Ajay here. Ename as Ajay. Where department
Where
number
sal-
is? No. Sal तो हमने लिख दिया.
Department number equal to 10.
Okay. See, it says 3 rows updated. Okay. Let's now list this thing. See now. See how it works. It has affected that if condition has taken care that only those people with over 2500, in their case, the name is converted into uppercase. For the rest, it stays as Ajay in lowercase. Okay. See again now. See this. So I have referred to the old values with the word old and the new values with the word new. Okay. So what I can do here is I can use the referencing clause now. All of you look very carefully. Referencing old as, say, take some name, say Salil. Okay.
Yes.
New as Rupali. So I'm taking the reference names. Now I don't want, I say I don't want to use the reference name as old and new. I want old to be used as Salil and new to be used as Rupali. So can you suggest a change now? Where should I change?
Sir,
So wherever I've written old, I'll write.
Salil.
Okay. And wherever I've written new, I'll write.
Yes, sir.
This is what this referencing variable means. I hope I've made it clear with this example. Okay.
Yes.
And let's hope that it works. Okay. Let's get this. And let's do this. Yeah, it is created. Good. Let's now again change. Let's change this to Abhijit. Okay. I'm again going to change this. The condition that 2500 stays the same. Again, 3 rows updated. And when you do this, you can see the changes there, right?
Okay.
So is the referencing part clear to all of you? Okay, fine. So I think what time it is now? Yeah, it's 8 now. Let's not have an overdose of, things. So I'm going to close this